Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our OutSystems user group. And today we have Stuart, Harris, John, and Goncalo giving you a feedback in the Developer Day in Sydney. Both Stuart and John were presenters in the day. And today, Stuart will give some add-ons in his presentation, and John will give you the full presentation for everyone that couldn't go in the Developer Day. But before that, we have Goncalo making general comments about the event and sharing about the other presentations that we have in the day. And Stuart is not presenting because he already presented in the OutSystems user group, and we have the video. So if you get interested in learning more about his presentation, you can just go there and watch the recording from our latest OutSystems user group. So everyone has the access to the mentors now. And thank you for coming. So let's start. Stu, Gonçalo, John, what do you want to share about the Developers Day? I was there, but my sharing is always about the food and how people was nice and the product updates, because I'm the marketing girl and that's what makes me shine and interested about.
I think we were going to get Goncalo to start with his rundown. So
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe over to Goncalo, then we'll share.
Thank you, Stuart. And pardon if you hear something, because my cat is apparently screaming next to me, so hoping he doesn't come through. But yeah, I'll be just doing a brief overview of the Developer Day in Sydney. It was a great experience. I haven't had the opportunity to attend many of these before, and it was a great event where OutSystems was able to share with us developers some of the ongoing developments, some of the future developments. It was great to have a lot of the OutSystems community and company himself there. Great opportunity to meet some people in person who you may see online or chat with in some forums or the community. And it was overall, for me, it was a great experience. I got to meet a lot of new people, see some old friends as well, and learn some things, which was also very good. And I think for me that was just the main takeaway from the day. I will take you all into a little bit more detail into the presentations that occurred during the day, and we can start with the first one, which was just a community update for the APAC region from Miguel Baltazar. And these are the main points that I took away from it. So we have around 850,000 community members in the APAC, and a total of 6 MVPs and 3 champions. It's a growing community, and they're aiming to grow it to more than 1 million by the end of the year. They're also offering some of the training opportunities. So we have the APAC Developer Schools, which is focused on the foundations for developers with over 2 years of experience in other technologies. And the idea is to bring them over to the OutSystems side of things, includes a associate developer exam. And then we have the Global Fast Track program, which is focused on developers already working with OutSystems with more than 2 years of experience, and includes also an architecture specialist exam. So these are 2 programs that they're implementing in the APAC region to further the community. They also mentioned the mentorship program, we currently only have one mentor in Australia, but they're also aiming to increase this number. And Miguel also mentioned two more growth opportunities for developers in APAC, which is the Build for the Future hackathon, which is taking place in September, if I'm not mistaken. It's always a good opportunity for using the newest OutSystems features and all the exciting AI stuff that's coming through, and have a good time using OutSystems in a different environment than most of us usually do. And they also mentioned the one conference in Lisbon, the OutSystems annual conference, where they give out the greatest updates and roadmaps and future for the company and the product. So this was the first session. It was a brief session, but it had a little bit of a introduction to the day. Then it was followed by an OutSystems product update session by Ricardo Alves. And the main focus was sort of a 2025 roadmap. I just put in the main takeaways from that roadmap. They didn't go into a lot of detail, but the main focus was Mentor and Agentic AI, with the open platform, B2C, and mobile also mentioned. But the main takeaways were that the agentic AI is scheduled for end of Q2 2025. So that's exciting. And Mentor is already in place. On a side note, there is also the planned switch from the mobile engine at the end of 2025, switching from Cordova to Capacitor. That's also something that's very interesting. And then there were just some general small updates, like adding more features to the AI services, in terms of search and agent generation, to the agentic AI and Mentor features, and some APIs and other custom domain APIs for the open platform later on in the year as well. But they kept it pretty brief. They made sure that the focus was on the AI side of things and how quickly it can help build and develop, and that's really their main focus for the year and for the foreseeable future. And we'll see later on, they provided some demos as well, how powerful those features can be. Following that, we had another session on Mentor and Agentic AI specifically by Rodrigo Coutinho. And so this was a live demo. It was a pretty interesting one. And it was meant to sort of display the power of Mentor and Agentic AI. So I'll give a brief description on what these all are. So Mentor is the OutSystems main tool for AI app generation. And it's actually the industry's first full software development lifecycle digital worker powered by AI. So what does it mean? It means you can generate a full multi-screen app using GenAI. It can then iterate and evolve that app with AI and user-powered suggestions. It will also embed AI agents into the app, and it will validate and maintain the apps using AI-powered reviews. How this works is you go into the Mentor dashboard, and you can provide it with prompts. It can be text prompts. You can provide files in the form of a business requirement document or data models or system data. Anything that you have that relates to your business or the type of app you're trying to build, it will take that in and it will generate for you the sort of skeleton of an app. And then there's a user review part of it where the user will then be allowed to change data models and roles and before the app is fully generated to further make sure it's what we want. And then it will generate a full functioning app with permissions, workflows, dashboards, screens, themes, data models, even sample data, which is a point they made sure to note, which means you can immediately test out your new app with some sample data. So that was we had a live demo by Rodrigo where he built a calendar management app using these tools, and it was pretty awesome to see. And then we have the agentic AI and AI agent builder. The agentic AI, the AI agent builder is OutSystems tools that leverages AI agents, which are sort of automated processes that perform specific tasks that you can then integrate into your application. And with the AI agent builder, you can integrate and create these agents and then integrate them into your app, and they will perform those tasks anytime you want. In the background, you can edit them, change how you integrate them, and they sort of work hand in hand, and it provides a very interesting experience to develop and build apps. So this was a very interesting session by Rodrigo. After that, we had a session on ODC architecture and patterns by José Gomes. And this was sort of a introduction to or recap of ODC structure, how applications and libraries work, how they are different from O11. And they then went into more of the architecture design process, focusing on the three keywords: disclose, organize, and assemble, and focusing on that cycle where you start by doing the disclose part, where you identify the application concept, you identify the business requirements, the information architecture, the non-functional requirements, all that. And then you go into the disclose, where you start labeling all these concepts into sort of application skeletons, and you start seeing a visual architecture model for your future application. And you can go back to the disclose step. The idea is to keep exactly that process going between the steps. It's always good to gather more information, make sure you have the final the most information possible before you move on to the final step. And on these on this organized step, you using domain-driven architecture, you apply the boundaries to the concepts that you disclosed before. You think about the data process, the data flow, the ownership of each of the of these concepts, the sponsors and the owners of each of these concepts, and you break them down into smaller applications. And then finally, you move on to the assemble part, where you fully establish those boundaries and with clear ownership, release cycles. And all of this hopefully helps reduce complexity, and establishes a clear process moving forward for your factory. And these steps eventually go back to the disclose phase. So after you've done your assembling, when new requirements come in, when things change, you go back and you repeat all this. And this is sort of the best way to develop using OutSystems. After that, we had some panels on some architecture patterns with data integration in mind. So we had direct integration, integration with cold cache, and integration with cold cache and real-time sync. So Jose just went on an overview of how each of these can provide some benefits for your application, when you should use each of them, and what's the appropriate way to implement them. So that was also a nice quick dev view of building the application using ODC. Following this, we had another session by Maria on advanced ODC capabilities, and this was focused on sort of translating the current O11 capabilities and how they convert to ODC. And so we have some examples here of integration builder becomes the data fabric system, BPT and light BPT become events, and the workflow builder becomes workflows. And so what are some of these things? So integration builder, we most of us would know from OutSystems 11 is how you integrate data into your external data into your application. With data fabric, you can do this in a much more efficient way. It simplifies the access and integration of complex and different enterprise data into your application. It has built-in integrations with commonly used databases like SQL Server, Azure SQL, Oracle, Salesforce, and a bunch of others. And it provides smaller benefits that current integration builder does not. The main one they focused was when you're integrating external data sources with internal data sources, data fabric will actually allow you to mash them up and extract and create some aggregates in that mashup that you can then use in your application to query and extract the joint information from those two internal and external data sources. So that's the main benefits of data fabric. We then have events. Events are a mixture of BPT, existing events, and light BPT. They are there to promote loose coupling and domain-driven architecture. They are the preferred way to generate communication between apps, and you can use them to trigger all sorts of things, including the workflows. The workflows are sort of isolated processes that can run in the background. They can call service actions, they can execute logic, and they can execute even human activities. An example of that being navigating to a screen. So you can have a workflow set up with a specific flow of logic that you can trigger using an event from your application, and that gets executed. And the focus of the session was on how all of these, on how these three new functionalities or translated functionalities from O11 to ODC are creating a better platform for users. It was also very interesting. Finally, we had a session on continuous delivery by Pedro Gonçalves. And this was focused on the continuous delivery way of developing applications. So what is continuous delivery? Continuous delivery is sort of a third alternative to waterfall or agile delivery methods. And it's an approach that intends to produce software in short cycles, ensuring that it can be reliably released at any time. And the idea is that you are building, testing, and releasing at the same time, more efficiently and more frequently. And it outlines these sort of bullet points. The idea being that you work with small batches. So you are delivering not in monthly cycles, you are working with sometimes weekly or even bi-weekly cycles. So you need to be able to break down your workload and your roadmaps into small batches that you can very quickly put out and provide value for your end users. You want to release frequently. Like I said, you want to get feedback on those features that you develop, use that to improve and continuously deliver value. And you want to, the biggest concept here is decoupling release from deployment. And this uses a concept known as feature toggles. So the idea is that taking code to a production environment does not necessarily have to mean that it is available for the users. So the main concept here is we don't want to hinder, stop, or prevent developing from occurring and this continuous delivery process from happening just because we have multiple teams working on the same application and some of their work won't be ready for a longer period of time than the one that other team is working. And you want to provide that initial piece of work to the users. And the concept of feature toggles comes in where you would add a toggle to any new development, and this can be tied down to a user story. That was the example they used. So each user story will have a toggle in the code. We're talking about ifs for the UI and ifs and other statements in the logic that can be then toggled on and off by the development team outside of the development cycle. So you build all your features under a toggle. You can then release that code, test and release that code to production with the guarantee that you don't have to have it live. The code will be in production, the code will be in the final environment, but it's hidden behind that toggle. Whenever the timing is right, whenever the product makes sense, you can activate it and instantly give users access to a new feature. And if this is done correctly, it allows you to promote and deliver multiple lines of work at the same time without blocking each other and without hindering each other. Then we have test automation. This way of working promotes the use of test automation. It makes the whole process works faster and it mitigates breaking changes, and it makes it easier to do code review and maintainability because the team is always focused on a new piece of development and other teams can be looking at what was done, and you have the fail-safe of the feature toggles to always disable a feature that might have passed test, might have gone to production, but at some point it was deemed not needed anymore, or something happened where you need to take it off. You can always use the feature toggle to disable it temporarily while the bug, while the fix is applied. So this was also a very interesting session. And I think, yeah, I think that's it. Those are all the sessions. I think I took too long,
Yeah.
but
Is Stu and John, do you have something to add? And guys, would you like to make some questions before we move to the next?
That was a great summary, Goncalo. Thank you. I felt the same. I'm a grumpy old cynical developer, and I normally go to things like this and just kind of think, oh yeah, I'll be more of the same. And but I thought it was really well presented, and they did present. I was really impressed. They don't normally show a really detailed roadmap in these things, and they really did. And the proviso was, this could change at any moment. So the things in the future. But one thing I did notice that SAML 2 for ODC, because they've just done OIDC or authentication. SAML 2 is on the roadmap coming up soon, and I know through just talking with some of the solution architects that other protocols are coming soon too. So that was great to hear.
Yeah. It was lots of new things. I didn't have time to go into all of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Pedro's got a question.
Pedro?
Hello, guys. So
Hi.
I got a question regarding capacitor. So you referred capacitor. That's only going to be available on ODC, no?
Yes, that's all for ODC.
And do we have like a specific date or quarter?
It's end of the year. Let me see. It's, I think, again, on the roadmap they showed successful to change is what they really focused on. It was Q4 2025.
Okay, cool. And regarding the mentor and the agentic AI, it's not accessible on personals, right? Personal environments.
Not sure about that.
And probably never will be.
When you say personal environments, do you mean like when you get a temporary one when you're doing training?
Yeah, like your personal environment from OutSystems.
Oh, yeah, because they're OutSystems 11.
Yeah, this is all ODC.
Okay, so maybe one day we will have ODC environments.
Maybe one day, yeah.
No plans about that, right?
They didn't say anything about it.
No.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I think that was good. Actually, Goncalo really covered a lot. I feel like I don't need to talk anymore, and he can cover my talk as well. Something that I pick up along those lines as well is the huge focus on data fabric, like the integration of things. They recently released, I think, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, something that will try to mash up data. So if you are having two different lookups, I think what they're trying to do is make use of the data fabric concept for them to be able to make that efficiently. And somehow my talk is relating to it. So later I'll be probably covering it more. But other than that, I think I also like when we connect with each other, just instead of having geeky chat, we're just having informal chat and just getting to the community. Sorry, we're top of the hour, so I'll hand over to Stuart for his talk. Thanks, Goncalo.
Thank you. But I'll stop sharing. Stuart, do you want to?
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Take over. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Now just bear with me while I work out all of this stuff. Share your windows too. Right. So you should all be looking at each other now. Hang on. Right. Okay, so you should see, let's see, you should see ODC REST APIs. Can you see that?
We can see ourselves.
Yeah, still okay. Did I tell you I was rubbish at this presenting stuff? Right. No, because I shared a window, not a screen. Did it again. Okay, so I'm sharing a screen now. So yeah, that says over here, REST APIs. Even I can see that. Thanks, Hanno. So when like I sort of put my hand up to talk at this, it was actually at one of the user group organizing sessions. Patricia said to me, "Are you talking? You know, at that session?" I said, "No. I'd have to go to Sydney." And it was about 2 days until it closed, and I thought, "Oh yeah, all right," because I'd just done a presentation on that you saw last time on the user API, and I thought, "Oh, okay, look, I'll polish that up, and I could, people might be interested in that." Yeah, so here we are. I only had half an hour, so the kind of behind the scenes thing is most of the information I got from this web page here that talks about the REST APIs. It's actually, not all of most of the OutSystems documentation is good. Not all of it is great. Some of it is missing bits. Most of it is really good though. This is great, this documentation. If all the documentation is like this, I'd be, I'd be slightly less cynical, which has kind of been an amazing feat. So this starts off talking about the two different API domains. Presumably there's others coming. There wasn't anything mentioned about any other API clients that were coming, unless I missed that. And it talks about how you actually connect to the client APIs, and then talks in detail, just goes through each of the APIs. What I didn't have time to do there in the session was go through what's actually in the API. So, and when I did the demo, I just used the user management connector, which is great. I mean, I think you should use it because it just exposes the whole thing. But, it hides things a little bit. You can just as easily, connect a REST API directly to, or consume that API directly. And it will just generate all of these methods for you if you just go point it at that and ask it to create the API. And so basically it lets you do what you expect it will do. You can manage roles. So it actually names all of these actions really well. Also, you can see the URL path is just application -roles with key, asset key, etc. But it gives it names. I don't know where the name's coming from, to be honest, but it's done a pretty good job. I don't, unless I did that, when I was in a daze or something and I created them, but I don't think I'd name it like that anyway. So we can manage roles. We can bulk create user profile. Remember though that that's rate limited, so you can only do 5 of those bulk creates a minute. The rest of these are still rate limited, but it's 100 per minute. We can also manage groups, query groups. So let's have a look at creating a group. So we need to get the environment key. So that's something I don't know. I don't know how to get the environment key. I don't know if anyone knows that. Maybe that's in here somewhere. Don't think it is though. Maybe it's in the portfolio API. So there's groups, user application roles, and then managing users. I don't know what else. So when I was building this, the first problem I had was with the actually just connecting to the API and getting a token. So I actually built this just token test screen just to test getting a token. There you go. I think you've got 5 minutes if you want to use that token. But, you know, I think you need to do things like that when you're working with a new API and you're reading through the doco, because, you know, nothing ever works the first time. Right, I don't know. I don't know what else I've really got to tell you, except use the documentation and I don't know, it works. It's good. But use that for
Thank you, Stu.
Yeah.
That's good because you have your presentation in the video if everybody wants to watch. And we have Joe starting now because we are a little over the time, but Joe.
Very good. All right, I'll brief through it. Thanks to for giving us insights about that API. I didn't know that it's well documented in OutSystems, so I'll probably visit that and then see your video as well, previous recording. So from my presentation, it's around the focus on the optimization of queries. So I've used the same slide as I'll be sharing now. It's the term sargeable. So if you haven't heard of the word sargeable, it really encapsulates a lot of things from optimization, from best practices, and how you would avoid those anti-patterns for your query to be sargeable. So sargeable in DBA world or in database world, it's making use of the index efficiently, and index in OutSystems, as we know, can be added in entities using Service Studio, and there are different practices that I'll be covering in this presentation. So let me just hit the slideshow. I think I've mentioned a scenario. Probably some of you guys have gone through this cycle where you've created a SQL in development and push things in test, and things are still going well. QA passed, meaning all the functionalities are okay. Come by production 3 months later. Because of the data growth, your query is not more performant. So indexes are in place, but still things are not holding up. So in this presentation, I'm hoping to kind of give you guys some tips on how to go to this kind of scenario. So one of the things that I've covered as well is the differences of terminologies in indexes. Postgres, as you might have heard, is the official database for ODC on the next generation of OutSystems 11. So I'll try to relate them, because when I was on the event, I felt like there are more O11 users, so I use it as a hook to relate how could it be done on ODC. So just to align the terminologies, indexing is where you get to make use of the indexes that's defined on entities really well, and index scan is the less efficient lookup for the O11 using MS SQL Server. Oracle wise, or if you're using Oracle, that's somehow the same terminology. But with Postgre, just bear in mind that index scan is the efficient way of doing things in Postgre. So here's the top anti-patterns that I pick up throughout my experience. I've worked on OutSystems with millions of data on the background, so pretty much I need to work with the response time for the user to have the right acceptance. So probably 5 years ago, the acceptance rate is on like 5 seconds for a page to load, but now it's getting lesser and lesser, as we all know, because of the different technologies in place, and our attention span is just being lesser and lesser. So with that in mind, I think this is something important for us to have the right UX in place. Um, the first one is like understanding the execution plan. So here's one pitfall that I've covered. If you are using functions in your SQL, may it be an aggregate or an advanced SQL statement, you're more likely falling into the trap of not using the indexes that's defined. So even you have the index for email, if the data growth has gone to like 10,000s of records, you'll feel more that the DB engine is not picking up the right indexes for you, because technically with this one, it doesn't recognize that you will need the index for email. It applies as well with other functions like substring, year, cast, convert. Year is something that I see often in reports because of like you want specific year and you got like a full date time, so you will be casting the field to a year, and that's just not really an efficient way to do it. You can think of other ways to do the comparison with the same data type. Like for example, for a year, you could make use of a full date, then use the greater than and less than, and you'll get a full year of of what year you need. Like if it's 2025, then you start from greater than December 31, 2024, less than 2026 January 1. So you're still making use of the indexes with that predicates or with that word clause. On this kind of function, I made use of a wildcard for me to tell the DB engine that you can use the email index still. So just on understanding the execution plan, and I'm sorry if I'm briefing through, I just want to cover lots of things. Here's an example extracted execution plan of that same query that I mentioned. On the left function, I'm technical the estimated numbers of row to be read, given I have like 10,001 of data is everything. So meaning it has to go through all the data before it picks up one record. While in here, the estimated rows to be read is around 20 records. If the values is close to each other, then that means you're giving the DB engine the right instruction for it to execute, for it to pick up the right record. And how I've extracted this is by using the Forge component SQL Sandbox. A lot of MVPs have written this. There's a functionality where you could download an execution plan. I have here at the same example where I'm trying to filter it by a wildcard, and the other one is filtering it with that function and downloading that execution plan. I just prepared it for you guys to for us to speed up. You could see immediately an index scan in here. So you could download that execution plan from SQL Sandbox. If you don't have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, you can download it and just open it up, and you'll see this diagram. It offers like a good metrics, like even the actual So the estimated gives you like based on your current T-SQL, the statement that you have written, what would be the estimated numbers of row to be read, and it also gives you the actual because you've technically executed it using SQL Sandbox. So those metrics are the ones that are really important at a high level, and if you have lots of joins and workflows, you could see the predicate on this one, like which one, which work clause uses this index or have gone through the index seek and index scan. And more into that, more things that needs to be considered is like the data type mismatch. So for example, you have like a parameter in your advanced SQL that's in text. Typically, that's what I've seen. But the one that you're comparing is an identifier, then you're more likely to also have a problem. I'll just mute Srijayami. Yep. Okay. Thank you. And a computation column as well is anti-pattern, where you could see that the calculation is being done against the field. So rather doing that, think of a way for you to move it to the other equation, or if not possible, materialize it to another column. If you're filtering the price, like when I say materialize it to the other column, you could have another field where you would store the price itself. While there's a maintenance cost, it gives you a way to query it more efficiently than using this one. Temporary tables, they come into play where if typically you have like a sub query that's complex, it's a code smell for me if I seen this in the code. What I typically suggest is create a subquery or a temporary table rather, or a CTE. If you haven't heard of CTE, that's a totally different topic, but it stands for Common Table Expression. I like both. I used the temporary table when it's reused to different queries. Like I have here a select, then I have another select that uses the temp table, and I could define indexes explicitly in a temporary table. While in CTE, it uses the schema-based indexes. So if you are playing with, for example, an external database, then that's something that you will be challenged with, because sometimes permission-wise, you don't have a way for you to add those indexes on that external database. So in Postgre, that's also available using just swapping some of the syntaxes, instead of having hashtag, remove that and create temp table rather than create table hashtag. And if you're not even using the field, so previously I just want to highlight that using a join versus like an exist. If you're not using the field on your select statement, just make yourself an exist. It's more efficient, and it picks up the right indexes for you because the word clause are defined well in this statement. So the n+1 problem, I'll just brief through this. You probably seen this in Mentor, the AI Mentor, where it picks up the anti-pattern. So if you have that database call within a loop, then that's where this problem could happen. You want to move away from this pattern by using an advanced SQL, so that you'll just have one call on the database, and you don't need to do the iteration based on a certain result. So why is it n+1? Is because you technically don't have control on the iteration, because employees are kind of written on the fly. So the data growth can happen in employees, and your loop can just increase and increase. So the database will be hit without an expectation. Order by some order by that I've seen, especially if you have dynamic visuals or dynamic UI where you could order by certain fields. It will be really helpful if you have an index on that order by field. May it be descending, it will be picked up by the database engine. And I wanted to highlight the importance of paging. When we drag an entity in a UI flow, like using that auto-generated pages, that's by default server-side page. But if we make use of an advanced SQL, then you're more likely pulling everything if you don't have this page syntaxes. Offset and fetch is what my favorite is, but there's another variant of it using row number. I like this because it's easier to read. So if you are displaying only 10 row at a time, then you would rather just get those 10 row from the server and just pick up the other page when the user needs that. So it's kind of lazy loading concept. Joining external data source, which touches the one that I mentioned about the capability of data fabric. OutSystems mentioned that don't join link server, because technically what it's intending to do is getting everything from that other database and pulling it to your local database so that you get to join them. In my suggestion on this one, I mentioned JSON, using JSON to extract it from one data source. So SQL by default has the functionality to extract data set in JSON. So you could make use of for JSON auto. In Postgre, that's available as well. So technically, this would output in a text. So one JSON, a text deserialize. So a serialized data in JSON format, and here's how you can deserialize it going to another data set. So for example, this set here, this JSON result set came from the first data source, and now you're trying to parse it and join with another data source. So that's a helpful pattern. And lastly, around that comic strip that I mentioned about data growth, sometimes just fill the query if you're not getting anywhere, like trying to do debugging and stuff, trying to put all the patterns that I mentioned. Sometimes you just need to remove the cached execution plan. So database engine typically creates execution plan based on the query executed and DB statistics. And as your data grows, those DB statistics changes. So you might just want to remove that execution plan that was generated during the development phase, because it's very like small data that's in there, and the DB engine is not considering all those other data that will be created. So option recompile removes that execution plan and creates a new one. There are other options, like option for recompile for unknown, or option for unknown. That means like if you can read about this, because we lack of time already. There's an anti-pattern in SQL around parameter sniffing. So the parameters are being used to cache the execution plan, and those techniques will alleviate that part. And again, that's available in Postgre. And that's the end of my presentation. Just in time for the 15 minutes. Sorry if I didn't have time for questions, but I'm happy to take anything offline. May it be through email or something. I'll share my email in here, or you can reach out on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thanks, Gonzalo, Stu, and John. I'm Patricia for now. If you don't have any other questions, we have a question super quickly. I will launch a poll and just, I think I did. Okay, I've launched it. So it's now live. Basically, we'd love your input. If you have any other ideas, any topics that you'd like us to feature in these user groups, please vote here. And if you have any other topics, please share it with us in the chat or however you'd like to share it. But yeah, would be in the chat. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. We really appreciate it. Stu, you went off mute. Did you want to add
I just wanted to ask if anyone has actually learnt anything interesting and would like to present what they'd learnt. You're welcome. This is not just the forum for the people that you've seen here present. This is your forum as well. So if there's anything you would like to share, if it's new for you, guaranteed it's new for most of us too. So don't be afraid, feel free. And if you need a little bit of help as well preparing, just let us know and we can organise that too. Thanks, Margaret. Oh, thanks, Patricia, yeah. Margaret.
Thanks, too. All right. So, yeah, that's it. That ends our session for tonight. Today depends on where you are in the world, but thank you all for joining.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.